Happy New Year. Welcome to another segment of The Road Home, brought to you by the Truckers Service Association. So glad you could be with us, and I'm pleased to be joined by a good friend of mine, a holistic wellness coach, to talk about what we can do, me included, to jumpstart our health and wellness in 2022. I'd like to welcome back to the program my friend Nick Kuhle. How you doing, Nick?
John, how are you? Thanks for having me on again.
Man, I know I'm standing between you and the deer lease, as we'd say down here in Texas. So, man, thanks for joining us. Here we are as we record this on New Year's Eve. You got any big plans tonight, or are you going to stay in and not make an amateur mistake and go out and start your New Year's Day in a bad way?
No, just going to get some deer hunting in, go socialize with some friends, and we'll make sure we're in bed early. Wake up nice and refreshed and energized.
Well, Nick, you and I have stayed in touch really over the last year and a half, I believe. We started connecting. You've been on the podcast several times because, we were talking earlier as we prepared for this segment. Most people I know, Nick, and I know a lot of people you run in some pretty healthy circles, but very few people really would say they have optimal health and wellness. We all have some areas that we can improve. And one reason I wanted to have you back on is for my own benefit. I've got some plans. I'm not going to even call them resolutions because, I think statistically the average resolution, people give up on them or quit after about 3 weeks. And so this is not talk about really resolutions. I know you're big on goal setting and following a plan. So let's jump right in there. What is some good strategies that you've seen with some of your clients to stick to your goals? Again, we'll talk about goals today, not New Year's resolutions. What are some things that you've shared with clients and people in the health space that you've seen over long periods of time to give them optimal success?
Yeah, John, that's a great question. And one of the things that I think is like top-notch beneficial is to create realistic goals. If your goal is to lose 100 pounds, in 1 year, that may be pretty difficult. But if you can set a goal for, hey, I'm going to lose 20 pounds first, beautiful. Let's hit that 20-pound mark and then let's move to the next goal. So setting realistic goals is probably one of the best things that you can do. The other thing, make it public. Shout it out. Tell everyone. Tell your wife, tell your husband, tell your kids, tell anyone on social media. Make it public because they're going to hold it to you. And that's the simplest thing that you can do to hold yourself accountable for this upcoming year.
Nick, that's good stuff. What are some of the challenges you've seen? Really, I know you work with a lot of people and might even include some family members from time to time or good friends that you have personal relationships. What are some of the things you've seen to impede people's success? Some of the fall downs that we all have. If I was able to stick to every single goal, I'd be 183 pounds and running in the Boston Marathon, but that's not the case, right? What are some of the things you see, maybe some pitfalls that we can avoid to help us stay on track?
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing is don't make 15 goals. It's very simple to have 15 goals, get lost in the chaos, and not be able to accomplish any of them. What I do with any of my clients is we work on 1 to 2 small goals. We get those to become sustainable. So if your goal is to drink more water, awesome. Set that goal, maybe one more, but don't move on until you accomplish that goal first. And then you get this momentum behind you, the success behind you, like, oh, I can do that. That's second nature. Now, what's the next goal that I can do? Rather than the mindset of, oh, I got 15 things. I just failed on all of them. I'm a failure. I'm just going to go back to eating, drinking, or whatever their kryptonite is.
Yeah, it's like that. If you can envision like a plate spinner, maybe at the circus or a show, they sometimes they get one started, then two, then three. Then the crowd starts to draw in. They try to get a fourth, a fifth, a sixth. At some point, usually that plate comes crashing down, right? So that's a great point, and I'm guilty of it too, Nick, is I want to do all this. I've got so many ideas and big plans that I want to do 7 or 8 things for the new year where I need to reduce it down to 3 or less. That seems to work much better for me. And I think a lot of our listeners as well. Would you agree?
Oh, hands down, 100%.
Let's talk about, again, that's a perfect segue to keep it in a rule of 3. What are the 3 simplest things that we can all do to really have a lot of success in 2022?
Looking at it from a holistic standpoint, here's 3 simple things. I'll throw simple out with quotation. There's simple concepts, but putting them in place may be a little bit more difficult depending on the individual. But the first one is hands down hydration. The vast majority of individuals out there right now are dehydrated. 1% dehydration leads to mental and physical impairments. So just by drinking more water is going to increase your energy. It can lower blood pressure. It can make you feel better. That is one of the simplest things that you can do right away. A good rule of thumb is shoot for about half your body weight in ounces. So if you're 100 pounds, shoot for about 50 ounces of water every day. So that would be the first one that I would recommend. That's one of the first things I start any of my clients on, is to drink more water, be hydrated. Number 2, sleep. A lot of us prioritize movies. We prioritize all these other things in our lives, but we do not prioritize sleep. We know sleep is vital. For anyone that has a kid, which is probably going to be the vast majority of people that listen to this podcast, how's your kid's energy? How's your kid's mood the following day if they only get 5 hours of sleep? It can be temper tantrums. They can be running around amok that are just more highs and lows emotionally. We are just children in adult bodies. We need the sleep. So if you can shoot for 8 hours of sleep, that is beautiful. And maybe if you're at 6 hours, one of your goals is, let's get it to 7 hours. Where can I take some things out? Where can I add some things in to make it easier so I can get more sleep? Once you get to 7, get to 8. I think 8's that lucky number. And then if you want to dive into nutrition, my big thing is keep it simple. Eat real foods. Anything picked, pulled, caught, or slaughtered. So you pick berries, you pull carrots from the ground, you slaughter animals, you catch fish. Like, eat real foods, single ingredient foods. The more you can put that in, the healthier you are going to be.
And we'll link back, if you're listening to this on the podcast, we'll link back and put some links to some of Nick's tips on his website and some other access to some of his content as well. Nick, one thing that's sometimes it's hard to have this conversation, especially with a loved one, a family member, someone you care deeply about, when you're concerned about maybe a spouse or a parent or a kid or an aunt or an uncle that they're not living their best life with some of the things you just talked about, the health, the wellness. Maybe it's smoking, too much alcohol consumption, on and on and on. Any suggestions on how you have those tough conversations with those people that you love the most?
Yeah. Here's where I'll go with this one. Within my coaching, the first step that I always do is figure out what the person's dream or goal or their legacy is. Because if I can show them the steps that they are doing and the actions that they are taking that are leading them astray from that goal or that dream or that legacy, I can guide them towards that direction. So if someone has an alcohol problem or someone has whatever other health issue you want to put in there, is just illustrating to them that some of their actions may be impairing the ability to achieve that goal or that dream. Do you care if I share the example?
No, go ahead.
So my father has some eye issues going on right now. His vision's going down. And I just mentioned to him, hey, Pops, I want to offer a suggestion to you. Whether you take it or not, I don't care, but I want to offer this to you. Some of the foods that you are eating are very processed, very sugar-esque, and they lead to a constriction of the optic nerve. Okay, here's what if you want to take it, let's cut back. I can help you out with that. If you don't worry about it. I just want to let you know. He's like, I'm not changing. So what does he do? 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from my mom. My dad, hey, he's not having 2 Snickers at night now. Now he's down to 1. He's cutting back on his pop a little bit. So maybe not even pushing, just making them aware of it. The awareness is the first step.
Yeah, hey, for us guys, I mean, the male ego gets in the way. So that's a great story. And wonder if your dad will tune into this when it's released. That would be awesome. But they give that big front, and I've seen that before in my own family. There's always a little bit of confrontation, but it's good to know that he hasn't come to you and said, "Hey, Nick, I'm going to take your advice." He's doing it. He just doesn't want to admit it yet. But it beats not saying anything, because I think none of us want to go and just say, "Hey, I didn't have the courage to at least step up and tell him, hey, Dad, hey, Pops, I love you. I want the best for you." And I like to use the word, "Here's a suggestion."
Mm-hmm.
I've learned that instead of saying, "Here's what you need to do," here's a suggestion that might help you, that I found that's helped me. I think that's a good way to frame it, especially when you're having that tough conversation, maybe with a family member, a coworker that you're close with, or we always have that risk of like irritating somebody, making them mad, and say, "Oh, they won't be my friend anymore," or whatever. But our health, Nick, is worth way more than maybe having your father or somebody mad at you.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where when you're working with family, there's a lot of ego and there's a lot of a head bunting that can come into play. So you got to tread lightly, and it's every time if you try telling someone to do, you're pushing, you're providing resistance. So offering the suggestion and taking a step back is probably one of the best things that you can do, and letting them go at their own pace. Everyone's pace is different, so being there to support and to provide the information for them is going to be bar none the best thing that you can do, in my opinion.
Nick, of course, all the members of the Trucker Service Association that are tuned in to this podcast or seeing this in the new
Shout out
video
to
format
them.
that we're doing. Um, we talked often about the challenges of being a professional driver, and they're under even more constraints than ever with some of the challenges, not only in the supply chain, but in the health concerns of traveling here in America. A lot of the restaurants that they were used to stopping in that maybe served a sit down meal where they could maybe order a salad or order some oatmeal and some fruit. Due to the labor challenges, those restaurants are no longer available, and they're even drawn more and more to the fast food options inside
Mm-hmm.
truck stops or travel centers. Let's go ahead and focus in on the professional driver to get them back on track. Maybe what are two things that driver can do to really jumpstart their health and wellness for 2022?
Yeah, first thing that jumps out at me is making the healthiest choices possible. Nutrition is typically the number one thing that we need to focus on. We're just bombarded with a lot of processed foods. So if you guys can make the healthiest of choices when you're in a truck stop, can you guys grab fruit? Can you guys grab vegetables? Can you guys grab raw nuts? Can you guys grab waters? Things of that nature. They're going to provide the health to the body so the body can heal itself. That would be one recommendation. If you're going fast food, go with grilled items, go with salads, stay away from the breading and the fried foods. That does nothing but create inflammation. It pulls water weight in. It does nothing good for your health. And then the third one, drivers sit all day long. So can you guys get some movement in? When you guys stop, go for a 10-minute walk. If you have a jump rope, you can put that in your glove box. Do 10 minutes of jump rope. Heck, do 3 minutes of jump rope and tell me your heart rate doesn't get up. Like I said, we need a scaffold and go small. So if you're going from sedentary and not working out at all, get a 5-minute movement in. Do 5 minutes of jump rope, or do a 5-minute walk, whatever it is to you that you can commit to and be successful at, so you can build that momentum.
Well, Nick, as always, you're a wealth of knowledge, and it's been my pleasure to stay connected with you on this health journey. And I know I'm personally going to be stepping into the ring with you. Not quite the octagon, but and we're going to stay in touch. And you got a lot of great things going on. You're impacting many, many people. So I salute you. And here's to a very prosperous 2022 for you and all the people you serve, and to all the trucking professionals that we serve as well. And everybody tuning in. We just want to say Happy New Year. And man, thank you so much for joining me again on this segment of The Road Home.
I appreciate that, John. You're always a ball of energy, and I just love being around you.